Incredible scenes from Edinburgh. People were packed 12 deep along the Royal Mile. Look at these crowds. They were there, of course, to see the Queen's casket. The crowds keep coming, don't they? King Charles joined Anne, Andrew and Edward in the procession.
How are you?
And we've got David Woodward in Edinburgh. We have Bianca Stone in Windsor today. David, heartfelt scenes in Edinburgh as the Queen's coffin was moved to St Giles Cathedral.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I can still see
very
myself.
tough scenes today. Another very tough day for the royal family here in Scotland today. Nat, look, the King, he arrived earlier today. His first visit, of course, to Edinburgh in this new role as monarch, but he came with a very unenviable task. He was joined by his three siblings, Princess Anne, Princes Edward and Andrew, and they had that very tough and very public job today of escorting their mother's coffin from the Palace of Holyrood House up through central Edinburgh towards St Giles Cathedral. A very tough job, of course. The eyes of the world were on them, but a very stoic, a very strong performance from those senior royals today. As you say, tens of thousands of people had lined the Royal Mile today just to catch a glimpse of that hearse as it passed them by. Many had camped out overnight to secure those locations. A very heavy feeling over the city today, and a very emotional one as well. We saw plenty of people wiping away tears as that coffin was driven by all the way up to St Giles Cathedral, which had been already packed out with a number of dignitaries, political dignitaries, as well as representatives of charities that the Queen had represented, of course, as a very active patron. They were all inside there. Her coffin was then picked up out the back of the hearse and carried inside a rendition of God Save the Queen. It was placed on the altar, and then a very touching moment when we saw that crown of Scotland placed on top of her coffin today. This is a 1.6 kilo crown. It was made in the 1500s, 22 gemstones, and a fitting tribute for a woman, of course, who loved and had such a deep connection and affinity with the country of Scotland. Shortly after, well, the doors to the cathedral there, they were thrown open to the public. In the past few hours, we've had members of the public walking through, paying their final respects. Again, many of them who had lined up for hours and hours. In a short time as well, we're expecting to see some pictures of the royal family inside the cathedral. They are expected to hold a vigil. This is an ancient tradition where they will stand guard over the Queen's coffin while it remains there inside the cathedral. It'll just be here for a few more hours, and then tomorrow the coffin and the entourage will all move down to London, down south to England for what is expected to be a fairly intense period of public mourning.
Gee, that is such a powerful scene there, isn't it? With the four children around the coffin with their very personal, very private vigil.
I know, look at their faces. It's so sad.
Bianca, you're in Windsor, where Prince Harry has paid a special tribute to his beloved granny.
Koshina, yes, good morning to you. We did see those sad pictures of Prince Harry as he arrived hours after the Queen's death at Balmoral. Then we saw him here at Windsor Castle with his wife Meghan when he reunited with Prince William and Kate for the first time in more than 2 years. It's believed he is staying here at Frogmore Cottage, but this is the first time we've actually heard from Prince Harry since his beloved grandmother's death. We know that they do share a special bond. Now, in a statement written on his website, he does pay tribute to her as a queen, as a monarch. He also pays tribute to her as a grandmother. In that statement, he writes, "Granny, while this final parting brings us great sadness, I am forever grateful for all of our first meetings, from my earliest childhood memories with you to meeting you for the first time as my Commander-in-Chief, to the first moment you met my darling wife and hugged your beloved great-grandchildren." He goes on to say that he will honour his father as king, and it is interesting to hear him talk about the Queen as his Commander-in-Chief. Now, it is understood that unlike Prince Andrew, Prince Harry will not be able to wear his military uniform at any ceremonial events, and that includes the funeral. Also worth noting that Spotify has now confirmed that Meghan's controversial podcast has been put on pause.
Okay, thanks very much. King Charles has pledged to follow his late mother's example of service as he addressed lawmakers from both houses of Parliament today. Hundreds of MPs and peers crowded into Westminster Hall to hear the King's speech.
She set an example of selfless duty, which, with God's help and your counsels, I am resolved faithfully to follow.
The new monarch received formal condolences from the Speakers of the Commons and Lords.